Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
This happened 2 years ago, when I was still in my small shit hometown in northwestern Pennsylvania. It's an old coal mining town, and if you know anything about Pennsylvania, you know that there's no coal mining anymore. The whole place is a dilapidated shithole. The economy was so shitty that even cigarette shops were closing down. One night in late August, when the weather was starting to get cooler, something real weird happened. Me and one of my buddies were walking to a gas station to get some dip, just as the sun was setting. We get to the store and end up running into 2 girls we know. We chat for like 20 minutes before the clerk tells us to buy some shit and get out, which we do. By this time, the sun had set. But at some point while we were in the store, the densest fog you had ever seen rolled in. Of course, we're all surprised by it and saying how cool it looks. And it turns out the girls came here in a car, so we got a ride home from them. This fog was so bad that even with the car's headlights on, you could not see 10 feet in front of the car. The girl driving literally just put her flashers on and was going like 15 miles per hour, hunching over the wheel and staring at the road like an old lady. We're still laughing and shit, but now I'm worried about crashing or something. I figured the fog would clear up at some point, but it didn't. It was the same dense fog wherever you drove. But eventually, we get back to my house, and the girls don't want to drive to their place in the fog, so they decide to crash at my place. And at this point, I'm thinking this fog is the best thing ever. So we set up and started watching a movie. And like an hour later, I got a phone call on my house's landline. I use a cell for almost everything, so this was totally unexpected. I answer it, and it turns out it's my uncle who lives in the town, but who I haven't talked to in like 5 years. I barely get to say hello before he starts saying my name over and over, asking if I'm okay, and saying Jesus Christ. This guy's a Vietnam vet. I don't think I've ever seen him show any emotion except contempt. So hearing him freak out gets me a bit nervous. I'm running things through my head, trying to figure out what could be going on here, and I assume maybe he's off his meds again, or someone got into a crash because of the fog or something. So I ask him to calm down and explain what's up, and he starts going on about the fog, how it rolled in out of nowhere while he was out on his porch. Like he literally saw it drop like a blanket from the sky in slow motion, and knew that it's fucking hell on earth or something. Whatever, it's just fog. But for some reason he decides to freak over it. And I just want to get off the phone, so I tell him not to worry about it and promise to get in touch tomorrow. And then I hang up before he can reply. I try to settle back on the couch, but I can't really relax. Listening to him go off into the deep end like that got under my skin, and I couldn't keep my attention on the movie. So I get up and start pacing a bit, then say I want to go check up on my uncle who lives on the other side of town. Of course, my buddy starts protesting because we got a nice thing going on here with the girls, and the girls just say there's no way they're driving in the fog. I peek out and see the fog still there, like I can barely see the edge of my porch through the window. The street lights have halos around them that are like 3 yards wide, but none of the light makes it to the streets. And I say, we can just walk. And I say, it'll be fun. One of the girls starts laughing at me, but my buddy just furrows his brow and stares at me. Maybe I felt guilty about ditching family when I hung up on my uncle. I say there shouldn't be any issues with cars running us over, since probably everyone else is going to be staying off the road. My bud asks me to go into the kitchen, and we talk. I say I can't just ditch family for some girls, and if he wants to stay, that's fine. I could just go by myself, or see if one of the girls wants to go with me. He gets flustered by this and says, no way, some chick's going to run off on an adventure with me while he sits inside like a little kid. But I think he kinda picked up on how worried I was, and maybe lost a bit of his mojo. We tell the girls we're going to my uncle's, and eventually they say they'll come along. We all chug some Red Bulls I had in the fridge and set out walking. Luckily, I know the town well, so even though you can't see more than 20 feet in front of you, I was able to get across town by staying close to the storefronts and using them to navigate. We're all not really saying much. I guess we were all taken in by how intense this fog was. Like I said, the streetlights had this intense aura around them, and they just lit up the fog without actually revealing anything through it. My uncle, like I said, is a veteran, and he's one of those people that hates the government, so naturally he lives on a property that's down a 100-foot gravel drive way in the middle of the woods. But at this point in our journey, we're just leaving the center of the town and getting near the edge of it, where it's mostly houses with woods behind them. I'm just walking, trying not to get lost, when I hear one of the girls gasp and my buddy says, "Oh shit." I look, and I see them looking behind us and some guy, I guess, who's running down the sidewalk opposite us. I could only see his back since he was running away, and he was more of a dark human shape in the fog than anything else. Still, as soon as I saw him, I just froze and felt my gut start to squeeze. Something about the way this guy was running, his gait was mechanical. Like if you took a looped video of someone jogging and just kinda had that float over the ground, that guy or whatever runs out of sight into the fog, and we all just book it. I know which way we're going, so everyone follows me, and eventually we get to my uncle's driveway. We trot down this driveway, and of course, it's about 1,000,000 times darker here because there are no streetlights. But eventually, my uncle's white-painted house appears in the fog, and I get a bit nervous because all the windows are black, meaning there's no lights on. So now I'm thinking that maybe he moved and never told me, or maybe he was somewhere else when he called, but then there's a part of me that gets real scared, and I start having all these weird thoughts like maybe it wasn't my uncle who even called, and now I just got lured to this secluded house in the woods at the edge of town in the middle of the night with this weird-ass fog. I knock on the door and start calling my uncle's name. Meanwhile, my bud is just standing there panting, and the girls are huddling under their hoodies, and I'm thinking he's not going to answer, when suddenly the door busts open. I whip my head, and I see my fucking uncle with a 12-gauge pointed at my head. One of the girls starts screaming, and I'm just frozen there while my uncle starts yelling at me saying, "Who the fuck am I?" I say it's me, that he called me like an hour ago and I walked here to check up on him. He asked why the hell would I do that, and to give me proof. So now I'm thinking, oh great, he's lost his mind and he's gonna fucking shoot me. But then he lowers the gun and says, "Get inside," which we all do. And as soon as we're in, he slams the door and starts pacing around and breathing like a wild animal and shaking his head, saying fuck, fuck, fuck. I'm practically in tears because I have literally never seen him like this and have no idea What could be making him act so deranged? One of the girls is sobbing at this point, and I just directly ask my uncle, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And he says, "There's something in the backyard." I ask what, and he says, he don't know. It's just been running back and forth across this yard and isn't running like any normal person is supposed to. At that point, my buddy says, "Just like the thing we saw." And then my uncle goes, "Oh God," and starts rubbing his face, and then says, "Fuck you," practically at the top of his lungs. I tell him he's got a gun. If it's still there, why doesn't he shoot it? And he said he had no idea what shooting it was gonna do, so he wasn't gonna risk it. I say it's just gotta be some person, but I remember seeing that runner and really don't even believe it myself when I say it. But after a few minutes of talking, we all agree to creep up to one of the windows to his backyard and see if it's still there. We're all staring out this window, and my buddy says that the thing must be gone, but then like 4 seconds later we saw it, running from the right side of his backyard to the left, just near the edge of the fog where it becomes impossible to see. Looked just like the thing we saw back on the street, like a runner with ridiculously over-exaggerated arm motions, his movements never changing or adapting to the terrain, just kind of floating across the lawn. And I'm just staring at this thing with my jaw hanging open and my eyes bugging out. And I think my uncle's cursing and someone's still crying, but I realize it's so weird because it's moving slower across the lawn than its body motion says it should. It disappears into the opposite side, and we just go dead quiet. I don't think any of us were even breathing. We're staring for like another minute, and then it comes back, running the other way. Same fucking run, same speed, just opposite direction. We're all pinned there staring at this thing, and I feel like I'm going to puke. I tell my uncle he has to shoot that thing, and to my surprise, he agrees. So he slowly opens the window when the thing is gone for like the minute where it's off in the woods, or who the fuck knows what, just enough to stick his shotgun out the window. The thing comes back, and we're all tense because who knows what's going to happen. As soon as I saw the thing, I thought deciding to shoot it was a big mistake, like doing so might make it notice us or God knows what. But apparently, my uncle didn't have the same thought, or if he did, he didn't act on it. He fires at it, and my ears instantly start ringing, and I see he hits the thing on its hip. I know this because you can see a bunch of crap. Debris was the first word that popped into my head. Explode off of the thing when it hits. The weirdest part was as soon as the bullets hit it, it stopped moving. Like turned into a fucking statue, its arms frozen like a jogger mid-stride, and just fell to the ground like someone shot a mannequin. And I actually start to cry in horror when I see that. I don't know why, but it was the most disturbing thing I had ever seen. My uncle slams the window shut and practically chases us all upstairs. We end up hiding in a room on the second floor with no windows, just with a small lamp to give us some light. So anyway, after the shittiest night of sleep in my life, the sun finally rises, and we leave the room, and thank God the fog is gone. Naturally, the first thing we need to do is go look at the thing my uncle shot last night. I half expected it to have disappeared, but there it was in his backyard. My first impression of it was that it was like a scarecrow, or a person who was wearing pants and a hoodie with the hood up and had stuffed their clothes with something for insulation. So we're all walking towards this thing, with my uncle leading and with his shotgun pointed at it. And he gets to it and kicks it, and it doesn't move. So he starts poking at it with his foot. And no shit, it was a bunch of clothes, stuffed with densely packed little twigs and old leaves. My uncle starts saying shit over and over and puts his foot down on its chest, and it just compresses like a dense bag of sticks or something. And we literally run from his backyard to his truck without even shutting the doors to his place, and just hurl ourselves into his truck and peel out. So my uncle drops off the girls, and it's my uncle, me, and my buddy. We call the cops, who eventually meet us at the front of his driveway because none of us have to go back to his house. And they show up like 40 minutes later than normal. They hear the story, and one of the cops just raises his eyebrows and goes, "Oh yeah, a scarecrow, huh?" And we just say whatever and tell him to look for himself. So they pull up to the house, walk around the back, and see the thing laying there. And I don't know what they think, but they get real pissed and start yelling at the three of us. They don't even go near it. They just make us all go back to the street and start yelling at us some more. Long story short, my buddy, who has a history with the cops, gets arrested because they think we're just fucking with them. He gets out later that day, but still. I ask my uncle what he's going to do, and he says he's just getting into his truck and driving to a buddy's place over in Ohio. I ask if he's going to get any of his stuff, and he says fuck no. And I never heard anything specific, but apparently a bunch of cars went missing during the fog, and the cops just assumed that people had crashed into the woods. But none of these missing cars, or the people driving them, ever showed up. And apparently the cops for the entire town had spent the whole day dealing with weird calls about shit that had happened during the night. Disappearing people for this town isn't unusual, because someone's always running from bail or child support. So no one ever follows up on the missing people. The fog never came back. I left the town like a week later when school started. Got an apartment near my school, never went back to the place. I haven't talked to my uncle for a while.
Be in the bush, circa 2004. Myself and another mate hiking up a hill. Cannot see more than 30 meters in front due to scrub. Not nervous at this point, pretty common here. Hike for 30 or so minutes. Cannot really remember this part. We get to a saddle between two peaks and decide to set up camp there. All goes well. Brew up some tea and cook a few sausages. Long day, so we head to bed at about 11-ish. Wake up the next morning. It was freezing, and it was really hot the day before. Look around the campsite, not where we set up the night before. Still waking up, think I am dreaming a bit. Mate pipes up. "Anon, mate. I do not think this is where we stopped yesterday, Arvo." Well, I'm not dreaming. We both packed up, a little weirded out. Decide to cap the rest of the hike and make our way out of the national park. Head to a stream. We could hear it from when we woke up. Arrive at the bank and decide to cross, because there is an animal track to follow on the other side. As we are crossing, packs above our heads. Really deep black liquid starts coming down the river. Mate and I freaking out, no idea what it is. Was not oil, did not smell like anything. We make it to the other bank pretty rickety-tick and look back up the stream. Massive kangaroo lying on rock about 7 to 15 meters upstream, with its guts hanging out and oozing from it. Mate and I book it down the animal track like a band of blokes out of a liquor store. We are still completely lost, but keep following the animal track. power on for 30 to 45 minutes. Track is getting really faint at this point. Nothing but scrub. We stop for a water break, packs off. Sitting there for 2 minutes when we hear rustling in bushes behind us. Snap around to look back and get bum-rushed by a pack of eastern grey kangaroos who jump straight past us, not landing a nick on us. When the shit fight calms down, all we could hear was a faint tapping of a drum, like a tribal sort of drum. Couldn't pinpoint direction of sound, decided to get the fuck out for good. Mate and I packs on and haul ass on this faint track. Eventually we run into a campsite with barbecues and porta shitters. Bunch of cadets doing some kind of field activity. Ranger is having a beer with some of the officers, higher up staff or whatever. You two mates all right. You look like a fucking yowie jacked you or something. Explain to the ranger what we saw. He laughs it off and tells us to go home. We manage to get a ride from one of the cadet staff back to our car near the entrance of the park. Leave and swear never to come back. I did actually go back a few times to try and figure out what happened or what we heard. Never saw, heard, or experienced anything like it again. I inquired at the park's registration. They said one other group of campers had a similar experience, and one of them was lost. Body never found.
This is an experience that I had when I was younger. I'll try to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. When I was in the 8th grade, some friends and I would constantly stay over at our buddy Nick's house and spend the night. It was something we enjoyed doing because we could all hang out in his big-ass basement and play N64 games. One night at around midnight, there were at least 6 kids in the basement hanging out and getting ready to sleep. I decided to go outside through the cellar door to take a piss. When I opened up the cellar door, I looked outside and saw something which I had never seen to this extent before, especially not in my suburban neighborhood. The thing that shocked me so much when I stepped outside was that the fog was so thick I could barely see the house behind Nick's, which was only about 30 yards away. The fog was so thick that outside it looked like nothing but a gray abyss with only one side of the house and the door to the basement in existence. It was strange, but not the strangest part of the night. Around 4 in the morning, it was only my friend Mason and I that were still awake. We were talking for a bit and playing some N64, don't remember what game, probably Banjo-Kazooie, when we collectively decided to walk to the local Wegmans, amazing northeastern U.S. grocery store, they look like castles but that's besides the point, to grab some food, and for a pretty scary trek through the fog. Everyone else was sleeping as we opened up the cellar door and started on our way. Here's where we saw it, the strangest thing either of us had ever seen in our lives. We were walking down through Nick's peaceful suburban neighborhood, thick gray fog surrounding us, coming up to the intersection at the main road. This main road cut through the 2 neighborhoods, Nick's and mine, which was where the store was. It was pitch black outside, and all we could see through the dense fog was a street light on the other side of the street. Mason and I looked at each other and agreed to cross. After all, it was 4 in the morning. We weren't expecting any cars to come down this road. But what we ended up seeing instead was something neither of us could have expected. Across the street, appearing out of the thick fog, was a strange figure, awkwardly stumbling, trudging down the sidewalk. I was the first to see the thing. I rubbed my eyes to see if I was hallucinating, but sure enough, it was still there. and getting closer to the streetlight too. I tapped Mason's shoulder to see if he saw it as well, and sure enough he did. There the thing was, still stumbling down that sidewalk. Its motions were the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. He didn't even look like a drunk man. It was a weirder type of movement than that. His arms were practically flailing in the air, and at any movement he looked like he could have tripped over his awkwardly swinging legs. We got a solid 3 seconds in which he was under the light to see what he looked like, and I'll be honest, it's not exactly fresh in my memory. I remember he looked old and was bald, but not much else. I recall him wearing a wife-beater, but that might not even be accurate. He wandered off into the fog on the other side of the streetlight, not even noticing the two of us, standing under a light of our own on the other side of the street. Mason and I looked at each other, incredibly confused and terrified. I suggested the idea of following him through the fog to see who or what he was, but then I thought about what I had said, and before I could change my mind, Mason had already declined. We continued on our way to the store and didn't run into anything unusual from there on. What was that thing? It could have easily been a drunk man, but it was moving unlike any human, drunk or not, that I'd ever seen. And what was it doing out at 4 a.m. on such a foggy day?
Stay with Uncle one summer in his place in the middle of nowhere in China. It is an English-style manor house in the middle of a forest with a heated pool. At night, stadium lights shine out on his property around the house. Tells me not to go into the forest and to lock my windows at night to keep monkeys out. It is hot, so I leave my window open one night. Laying in bed reading at 2 a.m. Suddenly the lights outside go out. Hear something outside. Window opens more, not slowly but quietly. See long, sharp claws glinting in the lamplight. Door flies open. Uncle has a shotgun, hits the monkey thing with the butt of the gun, shoots out the window, blam blam. I told you to lock the window. Turns the light on and locks the window. Stay here, lock the door and only open it for me after the fog lights come back on. Leaves, I lock the door. A minute later the handle rattles. Hey, I left something in there. Could you let me in, Uncle? What did you leave in here? I notice the hallway light is off. I think I dropped my keys. Could you unlock the door? The rattling intensifies. The fog lights come back on. Okay, I got the lights back on. I'm on my way up now. I hear from outside. I push a light desk in front of the door, run over to the window, open it and yell, "Help! There's somebody up here!" Shit! Block the door, I am coming! The thing outside runs away before he gets there. I hear a window smash and look outside to see a man in black running away. Uncle insists that they are just monkeys, and I was imagining the talking. The next day, scratches right up the wall on the stonework up to my window. No bedrooms are on the ground floor, and some damage on the tiles around the pool from the shotgun. A broken first-story window where the thing must have gotten out from last night. I do not open the window again. One night I leave the curtains open though. The fog lights go out again. I check if my window is locked. There is a face staring at me, not a human face, a mask. Blue with a big grin. A hand with metal-looking claws on the fingers strokes the glass, scratching it. Door bursts open. It is my uncle again. Face is gone. It was at the window. Fog lights come back on. Chinese symbol scratched into the glass. Uncle says it is nothing, but I asked the guy replacing it the next day, and he says it means get out. Uncle says it is just monkeys again. In the local town, and I see a temple. It has pictures of people-shaped creatures with long claws and massive grins who take away people at night who wander into the forest. Said to target people who come to the area but who are not welcome in the village and stay outside of the village wall.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.